The Valorian Empire had conquered 47 star systems before they encountered humanity. Their military doctrine was simple, efficient, and had never failed. Capture enemy commanders, extract tactical intelligence through their advanced neural interrogation technology, and watch resistance crumble within solar cycles. Commander Karath stood before the transparent containment field, studying the human specimen with 6 of his primary eyes. The creature called herself Lieutenant Sarah Chen, and she had been commanding a human defense outpost when Valorian shock troops overran the position. She was remarkably unremarkable, bipedal, soft-skinned, lacking any visible natural weapons or armor. Her species had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel, making them primitive by galactic standards. "Begin the extraction," Karath commanded. The neural interface descended, its crystalline probes seeking the human's consciousness. The Valorian technology was ancient and irresistible, capable of mapping and downloading the complete contents of any known sentient mind within hours. It had broken the will of Krogar warlords, dissolved Methian hive minds, and unraveled Selenite collective consciousness. Lieutenant Chen's vitals spiked momentarily, then steadied. Her dark eyes remained fixed on Karath, unwavering. "Fascinating species, humans," Karath mused to his intelligence officer. "They understand they're outmatched technologically, yet their defensive formation showed remarkable creativity. Once we understand how their command structure thinks, the remaining colonies will fall within the solar cycle." The extraction process typically took 4 hours. After 8, the technicians began expressing concern. After 12, they reported something unprecedented. "Commander, the interface—" "It's not extracting information. It's receiving it." Karath's spine stiffened. "Explain." "The human mind isn't simply being read, sir. It's actively teaching. The neural patterns are overwhelming our standard filters. We're documenting military tactics, yes, but also historical data, cultural information, psychological frameworks." The technician's voice carried an edge of panic. "Sir, it's too much. The data flow is orders of magnitude beyond normal parameters." "Discontinue the procedure," Karath ordered. "We can't, sir. The human has somehow adapted. The interface is operating in reverse protocol." Lieutenant Chen smiled then, a peculiar expression that exposed her flat, herbivorous-looking teeth. "You wanted to know how humans think, Commander. Now you'll understand." Over the next 72 hours, something inexplicable spread through the Valorian fleet. It began with the interrogation technicians who had direct neural contact with the interface. They became distracted, inefficient, making errors that Valorian military precision had eliminated millennia ago. They asked questions, endless questions, about procedures they had followed without thought for decades. Then it spread to the guards who had observed the interrogation. They began speaking among themselves about concepts that had no translation in Valorian. Doubt, conscience, individual purpose beyond the collective military goal. By the 6th day, 40% of the fleet's personnel were compromised. They weren't rebellious or disobedient. They were simply thinking differently. Pilots questioned orders, requiring explanations rather than accepting commands. Engineers proposed alternative solutions to problems that had standard responses. Soldiers hesitated before engaging enemy combatants, weighing moral implications. The Valorian Empire had optimized their species over 10,000 years, eliminating inefficient thought patterns, streamlining decision-making, creating the perfect military organism. They had erased uncertainty, removed individual interpretation, deleted the concept of personal morality in favor of collective efficiency. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, in 72 hours of neural interface, had infected them with humanity. Karath stood before the containment field again, his certainty crumbling like stars collapsing into supernovae. "What have you done?" Chen stood, despite her injuries, despite exhaustion, despite being one fragile being against an empire of trillions. "You tried to download how a human soldier thinks. But you can't separate our tactical thinking from everything that makes us human. You got our creativity, but you also got our doubts. You got our strategic adaptability, but you also got our moral reasoning. You got our ability to think independently, but you also got our stubborn insistence on asking why. You've weaponized thought itself," Karath breathed. "No, Commander. We weaponized nothing. You invaded our space, attempted to violate my mind, and your own technology betrayed you. Humans spent 200,000 years evolving messy, contradictory, inefficient consciousness. We second-guess ourselves. We question authority. We feel empathy for our enemies even as we fight them. We're walking paradoxes, and you tried to download that into minds that evolved to be perfectly obedient. The containment field flickered. Below decks, an engineer had questioned whether imprisoning a sapient being was consistent with Valorian honor codes, a concept that hadn't been invoked in 3,000 years. Your soldiers aren't following orders anymore because they're asking themselves what we ask every time we're given a command. Is this right? Is there a better way? What am I fighting for? Chen continued. You didn't lose tactical intelligence, Commander. You gained philosophy, and for a species that deleted individual thought to achieve military perfection, philosophy is a virus you have no immunity against. By the end of the solar cycle, the Valorian offensive had stalled completely. Fleet commanders reported widespread inefficiency, decreased combat readiness, and the complete breakdown of their command and control infrastructure. Soldiers weren't refusing orders, they were discussing them, debating them, requesting justification for them. The Valorian Empire withdrew from human space not in defeat but in confusion. An entire generation of their military was compromised, asking questions their society had spent 10 millennia ensuring would never be asked. Lieutenant Sarah Chen was recovered by human forces 3 weeks later. The Valorians had simply let her go. They didn't understand imprisonment anymore, not really. They were too busy arguing about whether military conquest served any meaningful purpose beyond military conquest. In her debriefing, Chen was asked how she had resisted the neural extraction. She hadn't resisted at all. They wanted to know how humans think, she said simply. So I showed them all of it. The good, the bad, the contradictory, the beautiful, the ugly. They wanted our tactical efficiency, but you can't extract human military thinking without extracting human thought. And once you truly understand how a human thinks, really thinks, you can't unthink it. The Valorian Empire never recovered. The generation exposed to human consciousness spread their infection of independent thought throughout their society. Within a century, they had transformed from a monolithic military power into something unprecedented in galactic history. A civilization engaged in constant, vigorous debate about its own purpose and values. Humanity never fired the shot that defeated the Valorian Empire. They simply taught them how to think like humans, and for a species optimized for 10,000 years to never question anything, that was the most devastating weapon imaginable.